Hi there and welcome to this edition of News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Let me tell you what's coming up in the news in this hour-long package. Bawku calls on IGP to allow police personnel resume normal duties in Kusog, expressing commitments to collaborate with security agencies as he urges youth in the area to remain calm. And Supreme Court finally sets date to hear petition on the removal of Chief Justice GHOne after earlier given an indefinite adjournment. And High Court in Accra turns down bail request from businessman suspected to be involved in the murder of Ahmed Suale. Also in this package, government's Feed Ghana program criticized for lack of clarity in resolving core challenges confronting farmers. And in business, Goldfields records a drop in share prices after government ordered it to shut down its Damang mine. We've got details of these and more here on News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Please stay for details. Thanks for your company here tonight. We start with Insight, and the Bawku has called on the Inspector General of Police to direct his divisional commander to deploy police personnel to resume normal duties in Kusog. Now, I'll be coming back later to share details of that statement with you released by the Kusog Traditional Council. My colleague Joshua will join me with details of that. But last night, gunfire once again echoed over rooftops in Bawku as government intensifies efforts to bring a permanent solution to the decades-old conflicts. The Bawku conflict, rooted in long-standing ethnic and chieftaincy disputes, has seen periodic flare-ups resulting in casualties, displacements, and heightened security concerns. The recent surge in violence, spanning about 7 months, has claimed more than 47 lives. And on Sunday, April 13, 3 people were killed, including 2 police officers at Poyamira, a community near Binduri in the Upper East region. The tragic incident happened when the officers, who were in plain clothes, were ambushed while riding a private motorbike from Bongo to Binduri. An unidentified man was also killed at Binduri in the Upper East region, and his body was set ablaze with a motorcycle he's believed to have been traveling with. Now, it's unclear the perpetrators of the attack, but at the moment, the killing has been most likely linked to the ongoing chieftaincy conflict in Bawku. Government has also placed a 12-hour curfew in the Binduri township and surrounding areas in the Upper East region. The new curfew now runs from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. With immediate effect. Let's now head to the Bawku area. Idrissa Kasim is there for us to share details of how the place is today. And Idrissa, we're grateful that you could join us, and I'm hoping that you're keeping safe yourself. But tell us, what does the Bawku township look like? We've just heard from the traditional council. We'll be bringing more details on that. But they're just asking the young people to stay calm. They have reached out to the IGP asking for police deployment to resume in the area. Tell us what the mood is like there.
All right, so Bawku currently, there's a total peace after the IGP made these promises, and then the statement released by the Supreme Bokunaba Azoka Abu-Baidoo II. When you come to the town as I speak now, there's totally calm. Security are moving normally, doing their normal daily patrol to make sure the peace continue this way. So the whole of today, we thank the Almighty Allah. We haven't heard any gunshot, and we haven't heard any disturbances within the Bawku enclaves today.
Right, but you've been speaking to the people of Binduri. They're not too happy about the curfew that has been imposed. Tell us more.
All right. So after the pronunciation of the release by the Interior Minister, that the curfew has been reduced from 8 o'clock to 6 p.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., the people in the area, particularly Binduri is a farming community, and we have workers, government workers who are staying here doing their work. So today, after the pronunciation that, or the release that they've banned bicycle, motorcycle, and the rest, they cannot use it, we had the opportunity to engage them to hear from them how they are feeling. Majority of them are expressing their view that the situation now is unfavorable for them. According to some of them, they have so many reasons behind this. I visited a particular station. That is where this Aboboya workers do transact their business, everything there. We got the people were standing looking for means to travel just from Bazoa, Binduri to Zebula, but it was not successful for them. These are some of the disturbances or the challenges they face. So we can have a listen to what they share with us this afternoon.
Right, we'll be bringing that much later. My colleague Idrissa, who has been engaged in some of the people who live in the Binduri township, who've been telling him about why they're not happy about the imposition of the curfew. So now that we've heard from the Kusok Traditional Council, have we yet heard from the other faction? There were concerns about the parallel chief and how many believed that that is probably linked to the resurgence in violent attacks. Tell us if the other faction has been speaking and what they've been saying, if they have.
All right, so the other side, you know, they had a post that we are expecting to get the full release, God willing, maybe tomorrow after Bokunaba releases. I think they are also prepared. But I saw a post whereby it is coming in from the Mampu Youth Association, whereby the heading and everything doesn't go well with them. So we are waiting to get the full details of their what they describe the IGP visit to the area for. But before then, you know, Bawku, the Mamprises, the Kusasis, they are like the moment one comes out with something, a plan, the other faction try to also retaliate or cover or to defend, whatever. So exactly before close of the day, so before tomorrow morning, I think we will receive their press statement from the after, but now we don't have it now.
Right, Idrissa, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and we'll stay in touch with you and keep safe while you're reporting on the issues in Bawku. My colleague Joshua joins me with details of that statement from the Kusok Traditional Council. First off, they've been commending the IGP. We all know what happened when the IGP visited the place. Exactly. Unfortunately, he was attacked, sort of. So they have some kind words for the decision he made to come there. Tell us what they've been saying.
Exactly. So when you look at the statement, it's in three parts. Now, the first part talks about the IGP. Now, they say that his visit brings or tells them of his commitment and his dedication to basically transparency and accountability with regards to the whole crisis in Bawku. Now, the second part is where it gets interesting, where they talk about the fact that they believe, as the Kusau Traditional Council, that the way to go is indeed cooperation and then dialogue. So they agree to that, and they are also calling for that to be the way to go. Now, the third part is where they, that with regards to what has happened with the police officers in the area, there's been some level of apprehension when it comes to the security forces in the area. So now they are calling on the IGP, who they say his visit has brought some level of transparency and accountability to the fore, to now describe or basically ask the divisional command to deploy police officers to the area, because we heard that the police officers were now quite worried about being in the area because of the fear for their own lives, because yes, now their people are being attacked. So now they are calling on the IGP to direct the divisional commander to now deploy police officers to the area to be able to maintain peace. Now they say they are committed to the peace process, and they will do whatever it takes to cooperate with the police officers to ensure that there is peace in Bawku.
And we know that the Bawku Naba heads the Kusok Traditional Council, so we can assume that this is coming from the Bawku Naba's policy. So thank you very much. Joshua Kojomen said they're bringing updates on a statement from the Kusok Traditional Council regarding recent violent incidents in the Upper East region. Well, the Regional House of Chiefs has issued a passionate call for an end to the protracted conflict there. It continues to claim lives and disrupt daily life in the area. In a press statement, they outlined a number of suggestions to achieve lasting peace and unity in Bawku. Now, let me just run you through those pointers that they've been given. Now, they believe that government should set up a relief fund to alleviate the humanitarian crisis currently unfolding in the area. They also want government to consider setting up major state establishments and providing special investment packages to provide employment for the teeming youth. The third thing is the issuance of a joint statement from settler communities urging feuding factions to embrace peace. On the fourth point, they want the police to expedite investigations and bring whoever is guilty of breaches of the law to speedy prosecution. Also, security services should execute their mandate in an impartial and professional manner to win the trust of the parties involved and foster peace. Now, this last point is on politicians, and they say politicians must stay clear of the Bawku conflict. Incidents in Bawku and the interventions that have been made so far to try and resolve the conflict. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time here. Let's start off on the last point of recommendations by the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs. Now, they talk about politicians staying clear of the Bawku conflict. Now, one would wonder how this is even possible, seeing that even though this started as a chieftaincy problem, it has taken on a political dimension. We heard of things that happened during the campaign period, certain promises that were made, certain parties that claimed to be parties of influence, creating lasting peace when they were in power. Last week, the youth in the area also asked MPs and politicians, government appointees, not to come to the area at all. Do you think we can divorce politics from this issue at all? And if we can, is that the way to go to create lasting peace?
Well, thank you for having me, and very good evening to your cherished viewers. In fact, in every conflict, there's a saturation point. And if you look at the history of the Bawku conflict, it's underlined with politics. We've had political judgments over the period where we are today. I've seen some goodwill from both political parties, especially I heard Dr. Kokofo of the NPP also making the same call. And that is very, very, very telling. The Bawku conflict is degenerating to a national crisis. And if we don't depoliticize it and bring all the stakeholders on board, we will not be making any way. The current situation in Bawku, I think what the government needs to do, first and foremost, even before they think about the recommendation from the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs, is to declare a state of emergency in Bawku, pull out the police personnel who are in Bawku and send our military there to restore law and order. And the military should make sure that anybody who is flaunting the security measures that are put in place is severely dealt with to serve as a deterrent to others. Because if you look at what is happening, aftermath of the IGP's visit and the killing of the two policemen, which to me quite unfortunate, we can no longer treat Bawku conflict with the kid's glove and the political undertone we've always done. It's about time we enforce the laws into its fullest measure. Until we do that, even the Otumfuo-led negotiation cannot even have the wherewithal to kickstart whatever they need to do. I know a lot of my colleagues are calling for both to go simultaneously. Now let me ask, in the absence of law and order, how do you negotiate?
Interesting. And you talk about the involvement of the military. This will not be the first time the military will be deployed to the area. In fact, we are told that there is a joint military and police team in the Bawku area as we speak. Now, the residents themselves in times past have accused the military of human rights violations and brutalities. So, now that we've heard from the Traditional Council, the Kusok Traditional Council, we've heard from the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs, do you think it is appropriate then to send in the military? Can we give it a little time to see if these interventions by these two bodies would stem the tide a bit and we can still have the police in the area? You still think that the military has to be there?
If you listen to me carefully, I ask that the police personnel should be withdrawn from the Bawku enclave and declare a state of emergency, and the military will take full charge of the security measures in Bawku. In the security balance, when it reaches this level, it means that most rights of the citizens will be curtailed. There will be the severest of curfews in Bawku.
And my question,
access to
yes, I heard you clearly, Mr.
Until we can restore law and order.
Mr. Kutin, I heard you clearly, but I'm saying that doesn't the statement from the Kusok Traditional Council, for example, today committing to peace, committing to cooperate with the police, asking the youth to keep calm and allow the law to work, doesn't that signal a deviation of what we've seen in the past days? So you think despite that, we still should declare a state of emergency?
You see, you don't listen to one side and assume that there is a false sense of overtures for peace in Bawku. That is not how peace building work at all. Look, we have lost a lot of our security personnel in Bawku. And the situating point was yesterday when two policemen lost their life, unfortunately. Don't forget, when the IGP went there, he's the chief constable. He was hooted at, his car shot at, even the commander in Bawku's house was touched. The member of parliament who is in Kusasi's house was touched. I think that the escalation has gone to the severest level. We need to declare a state of emergency and then restore complete law and order. That is when we can begin to listen to both sides. If you want to listen to one side now, to me, it is just a deviation from the main game, which is restoring law and order in Bawku. the sense of entitlement of some of the indigenous in Bawku has become one too many. And it's about time government start treating Bawku conflict with kid gloves. Don't forget, look at the enclave around Bawku, the Sahel and violent extremist groups that are around that enclave. It has become a national security crisis. And I think that the security agency to be meeting as a matter of agency to see how they can deploy troops in Bawku, one, to safeguard our borders, stop the flow of arms into Bawku, both internally and externally, and then put intelligence in place to be able to stem the situation as it is now. Then we can pave the way for the feuding factions to be able to come out with the presence like the Crisis group are doing. And let's not forget the statement from the Upper East Regional House of Chiefs is so belated. It's not today this conflict has gone on. Where were they with these beautiful proposals until the escalation has gone to the severest of levels when we are calling for declaring the state of emergency. The regional minister is saying that no, declare a state of emergency is not the way to go. To me, we can no longer treat Bawku conflict as it is now with kids' groups.
Right.
We need to do what we have to do using serious regimental security measures to restore law and order in Bawku.
I appreciate your time this evening. Emmanuel Kitchen is a security analyst. We'll stay in touch with you, sir. And he's been sharing his thoughts with us on recent happenings in the area. He says that a state of emergency declaration is the way to go. You're watching News Tonight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Now, in a show of solidarity and joint commitment to national peace and stability, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General William Ejapong, has paid an official working visit to the IGP. I'll be telling you more right after this, and that's how we end Insight.
Sacrum, are you
Hello there, thank you for staying here on Newsnight with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Now, the Supreme Court is set to hear two interlocutory injunction applications on Wednesday, April 16, 2025. And these injunctions are aimed at halting President John Dramani Mahama's process to remove Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. The two separate applications filed by Vincent Eko Asifua, MP for Old Tafo, and Ebenezer Osei, who's a private citizen. Let me just bring you details of that. Now, Vincent Eko Asifua argues that the president must notify the Chief Justice and obtain her comments before initiating consultation with the Council of State. Both applicants seek declarations on the interpretation of constitutional provisions governing the removal of a Chief Justice. A panel of 5 judges, presided over by Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, adjourned the case indefinitely on April 9, 2025, after the Chief Justice approved the Office of the Attorney General's request for adjournment, citing a training program for state attorneys. The Supreme Court panel also includes Justice Samuel Esiedu, Justice Enes Gewu, Justice Yao Dako Asari, and Justice Richard Ade Frimpong. The hearing is expected to provide clarity on the constitutional procedures for removing a Chief Justice. Now we stay in the court. A high court in Accra has turned down a bail request from businessman Daniel Kranting Owusu, a suspect in the Ahmed Suale murder case. On 2 previous occasions, the accused was refused bail by the district court since his first appearance on March 19, and his latest request to a higher court is the 3rd time his request has been refused. Kranting, 35, faces 2 provisional charges, abetment and murder, while his plea has been reserved with further investigations ongoing. On Monday, April 14, 2025, Justice Kizita Nakowakoshi, after hearing submissions from the applicants Daniel Kranting and the state prosecutor, said the court is currently unable to admit the accused to bail, while assuring that the request for bail could be considered in the future. The court said he should be remanded into prison custody until otherwise determined. On March 19, 2025, Kranting made his first appearance at the district court on the provisional charge of murder. The charge sheet was amended on his second appearance on April 2 with the inclusion of abetment. The businessman, also known as Nana Amache, is said to have sold photographs of the investigative journalist to former MP Kennedy Ejapong before Suale's murder in 2012, an allegation he denies. Also from the court, the Accra High Court, presided over by Justice Ruby Aite, has ordered state prosecutors to expedite investigations in a case in which a Nigerian businessman, Uche Chukwuchima, was arrested in connection with illicit drugs worth $2.1 million. Chima, a 56-year-old Nigerian, is standing trial for possession of 192 kilograms of cocaine and 0.42 kilograms of heroin seized from his Oyarifa hideout in Accra. On April 14, prosecution led by Watson Adama requested more time to file new charges due to a recent report from the Ghana Standards Authority. The judge, however, directed prosecution to expedite investigations to fast-track the case. The court adjourned hearing to April 17 to allow prosecution amend charges, emphasizing the Narcotics Control Commission has the power to admit Chima to bail. According to the Narcotics Control Commission, Chima had been under surveillance and is believed to be linked to past drug-related seizures and arrests in Ghana. The seizure is said to have removed a substantial quantity of drugs from circulation, potentially saving countless lives. In a show of solidarity and joint commitment to national peace and stability, the Chief of Defence Staff, Major General William Ejapong, has paid an official working visit to the IGP at the Ghana Police Service headquarters here in Accra. The visit, at the invitation of IGP Christian Tete Yohuno, comes at a time of heightened security concerns following renewed clashes in Bawku.
The arrival of the Chief of Defence Staff at the National Police Headquarters was met with a symbolic salute, a female guard of honor, highlighting the growing presence of women in frontline security roles. Major General William Ejapong was welcomed by IGP Christian Tete Yohuno before the two proceeded to a closed-door meeting involving top-ranking officers from the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service. Though the details of the discussions remain undisclosed, sources say the meeting focused on deepening operational collaboration, intelligence sharing, and coordinated responses to emerging security threats across the country, particularly in conflict-prone zones of Bawku. Recent clashes have resulted in casualties, destructions of police property, killing of security officers, and growing community unrest. The Ghana Armed Forces and the police have since intensified joint patrols in the area. Security analysts have long called for sustained interagency cooperation to deal with complex security challenges, including ethnic tensions, illegal arms trafficking, and threats of violent extremism spilling into Ghana through its northern borders. The meeting between the CDS and IGP is seen as part of efforts to reaffirm unity in command and to reassure Ghanaians of the joint resolve of the security services to protect lives, preserve peace, and uphold law and order nationwide.
Now, police at the Ashanti South Regional Command have warned of a crackdown on armed gangs who continue to terrorize residents within the Adansi areas after an operation which resulted in a shootout led to the death of 4 robbers. One person who sustained injuries is under 24-hour police guard at the hospital, and another is on the run. Ashanti Regional Correspondent Isaac Justice Bediako has more.
The police described the 6-member gang as a highly notorious group which continuously targeted banks, businesses, and travelers. They catalogued crimes allegedly perpetrated by the gang, including attacks on a mining firm, Chinese nationals, and a recent one at the Adansi Rural Bank, where they succeeded in boating with an unspecified amount of money. Addressing journalists on the incident, Ashanti South Regional Police Commander ACP Joseph Hammond Nyaba said a police officer who sustained injuries during the operation has since been treated and discharged. He also assured the police will continue to be on the lookout for such gangs to ensure they are brought to book.
On seeing the police, the suspect opened fire on the personnel They also returned fire appropriately, and in the process, 5 suspects, including WK, Samson, and the others, were hit by gunfire. Police managed to retrieve the AK-47 rifle that was taken by these armed robbers on 16 February 2025, together with 7 live ammunition, 2 other pump-action guns, and 17 live AA cartridges from the robbers. 7 empty AA cartridges fired from their pump-action guns were also retrieved from the scene.
The police also retrieved an AK-47 rifle, 7 live ammunition, 2 pump-action guns, 7 live AA cartridges, and a taxi cab believed to be used by the robbers in their operations.
Now, away from security issues, former Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Dr. Charles Nyaba, has cast doubt on government's Feed Ghana program, questioning its effectiveness in resolving the core challenges confronting farmers and streamlining farming operations. The program aims to increase agricultural production to feed the population, supply raw materials for agro-processing factories, and create employment opportunities for the youth. But Dr. Nyaba says the initiative lacks a clear roadmap to address critical bottlenecks in the agricultural value chain.
I have issues with always comparing concepts to results. Now the former agri minister came out with a fantastic program, which we all applauded, to support farmers with fertilizers, with seeds, with market access. The concept was very good. When it came to implementation, the inputs were left in the hands of politicians, and farmers never got. So if this year we actually want to transform the poultry sector, we need to look at the fundamental problems that led to near collapse of the poultry sector, which feed cost was about 70% of total cost of poultry production. Currently, what are we doing to bring the cost of soybeans production down, the cost of maize production down to increase supply? The program is not clear as to how interventions are going to reach farmers who are producing these grains for production of poultry feed. When you come to Akupo and Kipenkete, I'm a local farmer. I grew up in a farming community from the community. Our problem is not about day-old chicks. The problem has to do with farmers are able to brew their own day-old chicks.
Let's now engage the National Vice Chairman of the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers, Dr. Boris Bawku, for more on this. Grateful for your time here this evening, and he joins us via phone. Now, many are worried that this program espoused by President Mahama doesn't necessarily address challenges you face as farmers, both livestock and crop farmers. We are told that your organization or your association will be responsible for implementing especially the Nkokon Kitinkiti program. What are you able to tell such critics about how well you are prepared to execute that policy?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. First of all, I want to ask those who are criticizing are the farmers.
Well, some of them are. We heard from the former executive of the Peasant Farmers Association.
But is he a poultry farmer?
Not a poultry farmer necessarily, but he did have concerns about previous policies by various governments and how they have not been implemented properly. They only end up as slogans.
You see, one thing you should all know is that there shouldn't be critics when somebody means something better for the country. At the end of the day, you see, sometimes it looks like we Ghanaians, we don't believe ourselves. Other people are producing this chicken and bringing it to our country, which is going against our economy. We are trying at all costs. And some of us, we've lived outside there. For instance, I've been the vice president of the Poultry Farmers Association. I lived in Germany. And over the years, my father has been the first poultry farmer in the Johnson district. And my mother was a meat distributor ever since I was born. So sometimes, if you're a farmer and you really want to interpret, or maybe you want to talk about issues concerning poultry farms, so we need to be a bit careful.
Right, and I'm sorry, Dr. Baidoo. I mean, I can understand the perspective or points of these persons. We know that largely one of the challenges for poultry farmers in this country is the cost of feed, and we know that previous attempts were made to get farmers, crop farmers, to produce enough to supply the poultry industry. So there is a link between crop farmers and poultry farmers or livestock farmers, if I just want to broaden it a bit. Would you fault these persons if they are skeptical about this policy? Could it be the case that it hasn't been marketed well enough? Could it be the case that you haven't taken the opportunity to explicitly express how the policy will be executed to allay their fears?
Yes, sir. The president just launched a project just a few days ago, and all he said is that they are going to give 65,000 domestic people to do and to contribute. And it was clear with the farm.
Sorry, Doc, your line, unfortunately, I'm really struggling to hear you. If you don't mind, if you can kindly reposition yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Slightly better.
Yes, so what I'm trying to say is that President is going to give 55,000 households. I mean, that is important.
Apologies, Dr. Baidoo, sincere apologies. I would have to reconnect on a later date. I'm really struggling to hear you, and sincere apologies to you watching at home. I'll be having some technical issues there trying to hear Doc. Basically, he was questioning the basis of these criticisms of government's policy to help boost the agric sector. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne Television with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. We've got business news updates shortly. Do stay. And in business, leading insurance provider Star Assurance has marked 40 years of existence with an inspiring and spirit-filled Thanksgiving service. The service held at the Platinum Place, the company's headquarters, brought together management, staff partners, and others in a joyous celebration. We've got more on the following report.
Delivering a speech, Chief Executive Officer Boatimamba for Iwa urged staff members to renew their commitment to work, noting that every effort they put into their work should be seen as a divine assignment.
I don't just see my colleagues or employees. I see destiny helpers. And I want to thank God for each and every one of you. This anniversary is a reminder that the good work that God has started, He is definitely going to finish it. I want to encourage each and every one of you. Don't see yourself as just part of the company. See yourself as a part of a divine assignment. Every file that you touch, every customer that you serve, every decision that you make, it is all ministry unto God.
On her part, Chief Operating Officer Adelaide Ajiman-Boachi highlighted that while many insurance companies have either shut down, merged, or been sold, Star Assurance has stood the test of time, demonstrating remarkable resilience.
Some insurance companies got delisted along the way. Some were closed down by the regulator. Some had to be merged, others had to be sold. But Star Assurance stayed strong, and today we are saying that 40 years as a company, we are so grateful to God Almighty. With our committed staff being our human capital, you made it possible.
Pastor Selassie Agbo, in his sermon, emphasized that aside from human effort, expertise, and strategic maneuvering by management and staff, God's grace has been the cornerstone of Star Assurance's success story, enabling the company to reach this milestone. He therefore admonished management and staff not to take God's grace for granted.
You and I, for 40 good years, we have had a place to work with. We have had a place to come to every time. Bible said that there is what? A devourer that seeks to devour. God's grace has kept us, and God has preserved Star Assurance, and no one has been able to devour Star Assurance. We don't have any explanation. We don't have any reason to give. Our reason is what? The grace of God. People of God, give God a last shout of praise.
The Holy Spirit-filled Thanksgiving service featured a plethora of performances by various gospel song ministers, delighting the attendees.
And now Goldfields Ghana Limited has announced the government has instructed it to cease operations at its Damang main site and vacate the area by the 18th of April after a lease extension application was rejected. In a media release, Goldfields confirmed it has received notification from the Minerals Commission about the rejection of the lease extension. The company, which has operated the Damang mine in Ghana's western region for decades, emphasized that efforts were ongoing to engage government in hopes of reversing the situation. And I'll bring you more on that here shortly as we bring you further details on the release by Goldfields. Now it says Goldfields has engaged extensively with the relevant authorities since receiving the rejection notice to confirm that its lease extension application has fulfilled all the statutory requirements for such extension. Now, the government has instructed Goldfields to cease operations and vacate the lease area by the 18th April on expiry of the lease. Goldfields is therefore preparing to safely and responsibly cease operations and ensure the safety and security of our people and high-risk operations. The company continues to seek ongoing engagement with the government to secure the best outcome for all stakeholders. These developments at Damang do not affect operations at Takwa, which remain ongoing. Goldfields will update the market of any material developments as this matter evolves. And just also, we have been receiving some information that Goldfields share price fell 6.3% on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange Monday after it said the Ghanaian government had instructed us to cease operations and vacate the Damang mine. That'll be all for business news updates. Up next is sports.
And you welcome on to sports, where the NFL has taken an initiative to develop flag football coaches and officials on the African continent with a 3-day seminar to teach the fundamentals of the sport, which is now an Olympic sport in Accra, Ghana. The coaching officiating seminar had over 50 coaches and officials from 10 African nations receiving coaching instruction and training in Accra.
The three-day seminar organized by the NFL and the International Federation of American Football with the objective of growing the sport on the continent had over 50 participants from 10 African countries taken through various rudiments in coaching and officiating by officials and educators from IFAF. The officials were taken through both theory and practical training. Speaking to GHOne TV on the sidelines of the event, Ifya Law of the NFL International Flag Football Development revealed the main objective for the seminar is to grow NFL in Africa.
This is an absolute historic weekend for us in Ghana. It's the first time we've been able to host a weekend-long coaching clinic on any continent in the world and bringing in many countries from across that continent. So we have 10 countries here today, and so this event is fantastic for us to be able to work as the NFL in partnership with IFAF to grow the game in Africa and to work with IFAF's member federations to help upskill them both in coaching but in refereeing the game back to their local countries and continue doing the fantastic work they're already doing across this continent to grow the game of flag football.
Ifya Law further re-echoed the commitment of the NFL to continue such training programs.
NFL Flag's been here now in Ghana for 3 years. We're starting our 4th year, so we're definitely here to stay. Every year we have more schools and more kids playing the game and more coaches coming on board. So it really is a long-term initiative where we want to enable long-term sustainable growth, where children and adults have access to the game and they can keep playing in the long run. We really want to continue growing the game of flag football across Africa.
Lars Carlson, sports manager at the International Federation of American Football, praised the dedication of the participants from the continent.
It's been really great. It's been here in Ghana for 3 days, as you said, and we've been very impressed by the Ghana Association to host this event. I'm very impressed with all the attendants from Ghana and around Africa, how they very dedicated and with enthusiasm go into this and try to learn as much as possible with a bit of energy. This is really impressive to us to be here. It's been a great experience. See how they actually take this game of flag football into them and wanna develop the skills. It's really impressive.
Meanwhile, Vice President of the Ghana American Football Federation, Hamza Lua Jibril, revealed that Team Ghana is preparing eagerly to secure a spot at the next Olympics with flag football.
We already started our campaign for Olympics 2028. We did that last month, 29th, to select our men's football team with support from Be Authentic Foundation, one of Ghanaian NFL player who is playing for the Minnesota Vikings. So he and his group are supporting the local federation to make that happen. Also, we have a couple of teams that are around, about 6 of them, and see how we can qualify Ghana to the Olympics in 2028.
Football, let's now go to our football. And excitement is building up ahead of the CAF African Schools Football Championship that will be held in Accra, Ghana this year. CAF has confirmed legends are Samuel Jan and Clementine Ture as assistants for the official draw, which will be held on Monday, 21st of April here in Accra. And the CAF African Schools Football Championship will take place in Accra between 23rd and 26th of April. Ghana's Samuel Jan and Ture from Cote d'Ivoire will handle the draw, assisting them to do the draw for the 3rd edition of the African largest school football competition that will be held, like I said, in Accra this particular year. And that's it for sports.
Thank you for staying here on News Tonight. And Chief of Staff Julius Deborah says the Global Business Forum will serve as a platform for business growth and economic transformation within Ghana's private sector. According to him, the 2nd edition aligns with President Mahama's vision to accelerate growth of indigenous businesses, including SMEs, agribusiness, and the manufacturing sector. Mr. Deborah made these remarks at a press briefing ahead of the official opening ceremony on Saturday, April 19.
It's going to be an annual event. even though the name is titled GHOne Business Forum, I think going into the future, it could be national in character, whereby business people will travel from all over the country to converge at GHOne and to have interaction with bankers and public institutions. So, for example, it should be possible that somewhere along the line next year, they could have maybe the Commissioner General of GRA trying to explain to businesses the advantages they can have and things like that. So basically it will just be around how to grow businesses under President Mahama's watch. And I think it's something that is welcoming, and I support it, because without the private sector growing, not much will happen. Apart from creating jobs, people making money, our system itself, I think, will flourish. And then automatically to feed into his agenda of, leading the export drive in the West African sub-region. So that when he starts, let's say, towards the end of the year, President Mahama could organize Ghana's international trade fair in, say, Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Mali.
And on that note, we end this edition of News Tonight here on GHOne Television. I'm Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Many thanks for your company. There's more news when you log on to starfm.com.gh. You can also follow us on social media. We are GHOne Television. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.
GHOne OV van has been one of the best vans I've used personally in this country. It runs a system where we are able to run on Dante to be able to do our broadcast mixed well also from this van.
I've used this OB van for quite a number of big productions, i.e. 3 music awards, the late President Rollis's state funeral, Emmys Africa Awards, and a number of them.
My experience with the GHOne van has been the state of the art equipment they have. Personal experience is you can use it for both indoor and outdoor, all events, conferencing, like anything you need a van to work for you, GHOne provides it.
My experience with the van has been very good. Why? Because it has a number of facilities that I may not get in other vans. The van has a very wide bench that can accommodate all my technical crew, ICC, switcher, graphics, CG, and all of that. And then it also has a studio, a green room studio that comes with TriCaster. So if you want somebody to do commentary on a live event, you can put that presenter who's in that studio as well and get that running.
To give an experience to our audience, we're also watching on TVs and online. Work with an Exo technology system, which makes your video mixing with Panasonic cameras, like a lot of other stuff in terms of content you need to get also for your live broadcasts.
I prefer the GHOne van to a lot of other vans I've used, or even doing my own setup on a tabletop setup, because on a production you see a number of people in the van, and so if you have a very small van, it means that it's going to be choked, and that will affect the creativity as well. The price has been discounted as well to accommodate varied budgets. And so no matter the budget you have, I understand you can have the truck and do business with it.
It looks huge, but very affordable. Cost is really, really affordable. My experience with it, EMI Awards last year, super excellent. Try it, call them, and I'm going to give you the best of price. Really affordable.